He was wearing a black cowboy hat, black jeans, a black shirt, a black coat.
It's like I pictured myself doing it or something and never really pictured myself doing anything else.
She was screaming, "Why did you shoot me? My arm, I can't feel my arm." He called us by name, set us in the back 2 rows, and to do what he asked, and nobody else would get shot.
I was going to be the hostage and come over, I'm going to put the gun in your mouth.
There was a guy in the first row, and he got up and was holding his chest and walked clear across the room and finally fell.
In Moses Lake, Washington, on February 2nd, 1996, a 14-year-old student barged into his classroom fully armed, opening fire on his teacher and several students before holding his remaining classmates hostage. In the aftermath, the shooter's eerie resemblance to a fictional killer sparked a chilling question. Was this a calculated act of revenge, or a twisted attempt to bring a deadly fantasy to life?
It didn't seem like he had any real reason of doing this besides just to do something. He kept saying this is a lot better than algebra.
The following report is based on official police records, and the footage has never been seen before until now. On the afternoon of February 2nd, 1996, detectives with the Moses Lake Police Department arrive at Frontier Junior High School, where a vicious attack played out just a few hours earlier in Mrs. Kairos' algebra class.
Frontier Junior High. I'm standing at the southwest corner of the building next to the cafeteria. I will be walking towards the door of the building, the cafeteria area, and down the center hallway towards room 15. This is room number 15, the area where the incident took place.
Still reeling from a tragedy that would claim multiple lives, 2 survivors of the harrowing ordeal begin to share their accounts of what happened inside the classroom.
Can you tell me what period it was?
It was 5th period, but our schedules were messed up, so it wasn't a normal 5th period time.
Because of the bad winter we're having here?
Yeah, because it's a 2-hour delay.
Okay, and what's the first thing that you noticed?
Just the loud shots is what got my attention because I was trying to do my algebra, and the loud shots, my ears were ringing. And I turned my head and I looked towards the direction of the shots or the loud noises. And I realized then that they were shots and that people were hurt because there were people, it just scattered and they were holding their chests and there was blood.
Okay, it was pretty panicky in there?
Yes.
Okay. When that happened from a person that was in the class or that it entered from the outside?
They entered from the outside.
Did he say anything when he was shooting?
Not while he was shooting.
Okay, but later I take it he must have said some things.
He was yelling, "Get down."
The shooter would later be identified as 14-year-old Barry Loukaitis. Although most teachers acknowledged that he was somewhat asocial, they described him as highly intelligent, a model student, and a pleasure to have in class. The warning signs they missed would only come in hindsight. John Lane, a PE teacher, explains what happened next after the first shots rang out.
I was teaching room number 13, which is the room right next to the cafeteria. I heard some loud explosions, was unable to determine what they were. I left my classroom at that time, went out in the hall, and tried to investigate.
When you first heard them, how many did it sound like?
There were several. I had 3 or 4, I guess. Again, I was so unaware, and I thought I didn't know what had exploded to cause that. Didn't suspect a gun, of course. As I was walking down the hallway, I heard some screaming, some kids screaming. I didn't know what had happened. I saw the door was closed. As I got there, I pushed open the door and saw the kids in various states on the floor. There were some in the desks. And as soon as I walked in the door, I noticed directly to my right in the corner someone standing there, very erect, and I detected a gun right away. As soon as I hit the deck and slid around there, I saw Mrs. Kairos lying up against the front of the room and very ashen gray. Apparently, she looked dead to me at that time.
The classroom's teacher, 49-year-old Leona Lee Kairos, still grasped a marker and eraser in each hand as she lay unmoving on the floor. Several students were also shot, but Mr. Lane had yet to realize how many or how badly they were injured when he dove behind the teacher's desk for cover.
What was he doing at that time?
He was standing there with the gun, and like I say, I didn't take too long to look at him. I just noticed that there was a gun and there was someone standing there. He was dressed in dark colors.
He was wearing a black cowboy hat, black jeans, a black shirt, a black coat. It was a real long duster coat, black boots.
Dressed all in black?
Yes.
A witness would later describe seeing Barry as he walked toward the school earlier that morning, his black attire a sharp contrast to the white snow. He described him as a tin soldier, walking with stiff legs and keeping his arms tight to his body. Just 3 days before the attack, his mother was with him as he purchased the long trench coat that would later conceal the guns he carried.
Could you see him with a gun?
Yes.
Okay. And realizing that, and maybe I'm wrong here, that you're probably not real familiar with guns, was this a long firearm? Was this a short firearm?
It was a rifle. I've been hunting.
Okay. And I apologize for that. Didn't mean to insult your intelligence. That's great. It was a rifle.
Yes.
How many times did he shoot? Do you know?
Mrs. Carter, he shot Mrs. Carter's once.
One time.
He shot as many times as he hit. And I felt like he had shot before. He's handled a gun before.
Barry entered the classroom that day fully armed with his father's guns, a lever-action rifle and 2 holstered handguns, including a revolver and semi-automatic pistol.
These are the 2 holsters in the boots taken from the suspect. The shells in the gun belt by the desk.
One student later compared his holsters to those worn by the protagonist in the film Natural Born Killers. Witnesses claimed it was one of Barry's favorite movies, with one recalling him saying it would be fun to go on a killing spree and get away with it, just like the characters in the movie. This unsettling connection to fictional killers would only deepen as investigators uncovered more details in the wake of the tragedy.
The guns laying on the desk. The first one appears to be a large caliber revolver. Correction, a large revolver, unknown caliber at this point.
4 days before the shooting, classmates recalled Barry asking if he could buy shotgun shells. When asked why, he eerily replied they would find out later. He told another classmate the shells were needed to kill 15 to 20 objects the size of a dog. He also questioned the power of a rifle compared to a shotgun.
30-30 with a wire around the chamber. Okay, can you show me the side of that, Paul? Is there a insignia on that? There it is.
It's a Winchester Model 94.
Yeah, just...
As Barry's classmate continued to recount her terror, she explained that Barry was no longer shooting, but still held the rifle in hand as Mr. Lane began talking to him.
He was asking, why did you do this and what does he want? And does he want to talk about it? And for him to put the gun down and, just trying to persuade him that this was not the right thing to do.
Where were you? Were you on the floor?
Yes.
Okay. And there must have, was there other people on the floor at that time?
Everyone was on the floor.
Okay.
There was a guy in the first row, and he got up and was holding his chest and walked clear across the room and finally fell.
Could you see the suspect or Mr. Lane?
Yes, I was behind the chair, and there's slits in the chair, and from where I was sitting, I could see his face. He kept looking at him.
The suspect did? Okay. What was the suspect saying to Mr. Lane or to the rest of the class, if you know?
To be quiet and to do what he asked, and nobody else would get shot.
Meanwhile, reports of shots fired at the junior high school reached local authorities, who urgently made their way to the scene. Inside the classroom, Barry began making demands.
He kept saying, Mr. Lane, stand up. I'm not going to hurt anybody. Stand up. I'm not going to shoot anybody else. He did say at one time, if you don't stand up, I'm going to shoot somebody, though. He did say that.
Was that directed at you?
Yes. He said if I wouldn't stand up, he was going to shoot one of the students. He said that one time.
Okay. Did you, in fact, stand up?
I kept telling him I was too afraid to stand up, and I just couldn't do it. I just wasn't able to. During one time when I was laying down, the gun did go off one time, and he said, oh, that's an accident.
According to witnesses, the stray bullet struck the ceiling, and Barry apologized to the class.
These are possibly of rounds which appear to be in the ceiling area.
Teachers and students would recall a change in Barry in the months preceding the attack. He became more withdrawn, unfriendly, and had notable changes in his handwriting. One teacher said it seemed as though something was bothering him. Many of Barry's drawings and poems took on dark themes of murder and death. He began making alarming comments to people who would walk by, such as, "They don't deserve to live." Just 2 weeks before the shooting, a student overheard Barry say he would kill someone if they deserved it. Whether Barry deliberately chose his victims remained to be seen, but soon in the interrogation room, he would provide his own answer to this haunting question. For now, Mr. Lane continued his account of what happened next.
I finally felt that I had to stand up and make something happen. He kept reassuring me that he wasn't going to shoot anybody, and wasn't going to shoot me, and it wasn't going to hurt anybody.
What did he want at that point?
I didn't. He said several times that he was going to explain later on why he was there and why he did what he did, but he didn't explain why he had done what he had done. As soon as I got up, we tried to get him to lay the gun down. He wouldn't do that. And at that time, I tried to direct his attention and my attention to the kids that were injured and kind of surveying the scene. There was one student that was down. Apparently dead. There was another student who kept saying that they were hurt. I'm going to pass out. I'm going to faint.
The girl, she was hurt. She was screaming, "Why did you shoot me? My arm, I can't feel my arm." And she said, "Can I go? You let me go get an ambulance." And he let her go. And there was another girl. She had diabetes or something. She had some kind of illness. He let her go.
As an officer finally arrived, he passed the shooting victim in the hallway, later identified as 13-year-old Natalie Hintz, telling her to run to the office where an ambulance would meet her. The girl who claimed to be struggling with diabetic issues came out next, and he urged her to get behind him. Mr. Kairis, the school principal, attempted to enter his wife's classroom, but was stopped as the officer explained he would only endanger the lives of the students inside. The officer called for more backup as the hostage situation inside the classroom grew more dire.
Did you remove? And the reason I'm asking, John, is that the breezeway there's an amount of blood that's outside the classroom. You helped the female with the hurt arm, and another person who apparently was not shot but had some diabetic problems was allowed to leave. Anybody else came outside?
Yeah, there's one other, and this was the student who, and I don't know who it was laying over in the far corner of the room away from Barry, having real difficulty breathing.
The one that walked across the room, he was laying on the floor and he was breathing. I mean, he'd take a really deep breath like every minute or so. I mean, it was a pretty long between. He was like groaning and he was not responsive.
So Mr. Lane helped get him out?
Mr. Lane and two other students.
And did Mr. Lane have to ask permission for that?
Yes.
And that permission was granted by the suspect?
Not at first, no.
Okay.
They asked if they could get him out, and the suspect, Barry, he asked, how close to death was he? And they said, pretty close. And at first he said, just let him lay there and die. Mr. Lane kept persuading me, they kept saying, please let us get this child out. He needs help. And then he finally let him go.
I went back there and he was laying in quite a pool of blood. I couldn't handle him by himself, so Barry let me take another student, try to help him. Still couldn't get out with another student, so we got a third student, and finally we were able to get that victim out of the classroom.
As backup arrived, the door flew open, and Mr. Lane, along with two other students, pulled 14-year-old Arnold Arnie Fritz into the hallway, where two officers carried him to an ambulance. Both Arnie and Natalie were transported to the hospital, where their lives would hang in the balance. Inside the classroom, two shooting victims, Mrs. Kairis and a young boy, lay motionless on the floor. With the remaining students still at gunpoint, Mr. Lane went back inside.
What is the suspect doing at this point?
Just standing in the corner, and what he said he was going to do, he was going to try to organize the room and get things done his way, and I guess let things progress kind of. And at that time, this time of the incident, one of the police officers started hollering at him and called him by name and tried to get Barry to talk to him. And the basic response from Barry was, I'll talk to you in 10 minutes after I've organized things, and then I'll let you know what's going on.
What was he organizing, John?
Well, what he did, he had some of the kids move to the back of the classroom and sit in chairs in the back of the classroom.
We were all scattered around the room, and he called us by name and set us in the back 2 rows, going a long ways across the back of the classroom.
One student would later tell investigators it seemed as though Barry was setting up a shooting gallery. As he continued calling their names, the police attempted to call Barry from the classroom phone. In response, he held it above his head and smashed it on the ground. With the phone broken, they tried other methods to reach Barry, but this only seemed to aggravate him further.
How were they communicating with him? Just yelling?
Yelling.
Was the door closed at this time?
The door was closed. In fact, it was slightly open, and he said to close the door. He didn't want it open. He also said, "You're pissing me off. I'm going to get this taken care of," something like that.
They were yelling his name, Barry, and Barry was yelling back, and he kept saying that if they didn't quit yelling, he was going to start shooting us again because they were making him mad. He kept saying, "This is a lot better than algebra," and stuff like that.
What Barry demanded next was nothing short of horrifying, sending the encounter spiraling toward a tense climax.
Barry got a large Ziploc bag out of his pocket and a rubber band and put the bag over his gun and put the rubber band around it and told Mr. Lane to put the end of the barrel into his mouth because he needed somehow to get out.
And at that time he said, now we're going to take care of the hostage. And he said, Mr. Lane, you're going to be the hostage.
Did in fact you go over to him when he said that?
I started to come to him, but again, earlier he had said, don't get too close. And so I wanted to maintain my distance because I didn't want to panic him.
Sure.
And then when he said I was going to be a hostage and I came up to him a little bit, I was probably 3 to 4 feet away from him. And I said, Barry, I don't want to do this. I'm too afraid. I didn't want to do it.
Sure. What did he do then, John?
Well, I guess that's when it came to conclusion. I felt that I had to do something.
Mr. Lane stood up and walked over towards him, got kind of close, and Barry kept saying, back up. And Mr. Lane would back up a little bit. And then the next thing I knew, Mr. Lane had him up against the wall.
The weapon was a little bit higher and in front of him, so I kind of pinned that. I wanted to make sure that the hand wouldn't on the trigger. If it would have gone off, it would have gone in the ceiling, which I wasn't too concerned about, but I wanted it pointed out. I wanted it away from the kids, and I thought I could. And he really didn't offer all that much resistance. I'm sure my adrenaline was going too, but I thought I could take him.
He had the gun in one hand up against the wall, and they were struggling, and he was yelling for us to run out to get out of the classroom.
Mr. Lane was?
Yes.
So Mr. Lane is the one that resolved this. He's the one that helped everybody. How long did this whole thing take place?
It was fairly quick, actually. It was about 5 or 10 minutes.
All right.
That this whole thing.
When Mr. Lane pinned him up against the wall, what happened next?
I stood up from the shelf that was there, and Mr. Lane was yelling, run, and just everybody ran out. I think I was the second or third person to get out.
Students began pouring out of the classroom, and 4 officers rushed inside to witness the struggle between Mr. Lane and Barry over possession of the rifle. They quickly jumped in to help, disarming the suspect. With Barry finally in custody, they would soon be able to question the killer himself. As he was taken away, one officer raced to aid Mrs. Kairis and the other fallen student, but he noted in his report that it was clear any efforts to resuscitate them would be useless. Before they turned to Barry, Mr. Lane and the young classmate shared their final thoughts.
It didn't seem like he had any real reason of doing this besides just to do something.
It was my impression that Barry is one of those kids that the forgotten kid who was just a little strange and quite frankly, it doesn't surprise me that he snapped.
As news of the shooting spread, a detective from the Seattle Police Department reached out to investigators, noting eerie similarities between the attack and a well-known book, an unsettling connection that will later be explored. With a classmate and teacher pronounced dead, as well as 2 injured students at the hospital, Barry was brought to the police station, determined to uncover what drove him to commit the brutal attack. Sergeant Ruffin with the Moses Lake Police Department began to question Barry.
Barry, how old are you? 14. Okay, so have you ever been in any trouble before at all? For anything? Just anything minor?
I got detention once when I was 7.
Just minor stuff. Barry, I tell you what I'd like to do is that...
Have my parents been notified?
Barry, I don't know. I'm not sure who your parents are. Have you called them?
No.
Okay, maybe that's something we can do here in a minute.
What Barry didn't know was that his mother entered the police station less than an hour before his interview began. Court documents argued Sergeant Ruffin knew full well Barry's mother was in a waiting room as he continued to question Barry without an adult present.
What I want to do, Barry, is that I need for you to explain yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to get another chance to explain yourself. Once I leave today, that's it. I mean, because basically, then I've got to go do all that other stuff.
Explain what I did?
Well, I mean, where you coming from on this, buddy?
Oh, why?
Yeah, but to do that, I need to get the paperwork done, okay? And that's why we got to sit down for a couple minutes and just do paperwork, okay? Is that okay with you?
How long does it take?
Not very long at all.
Would I be able to have anybody else here besides the lawyer?
Who else would you like to have?
My parents?
Maybe. If you want to do that,
I at least want to talk to them.
Okay, if you want to do that, why don't we do that, and I'll see if I can get your parents here, okay?
After being read his Miranda rights, Barry formally acknowledged and waived them with his signature. Sergeant Ruffin continued questioning him about the incident.
Were you in school at all today?
You didn't go? No.
What happened after you went inside?
I don't know. I guess reflex took over, sort of. I don't know. It's like I pictured myself doing it or something and never really pictured myself doing anything else.
Okay. Have you drank anything today? Any alcohol?
I don't drink.
Okay, good.
I don't do drugs and I do not smoke.
Okay. I don't think what I'm hearing is all true.
And now those people up there that were injured, did those people do something to you? What have you been told? Well, I spent some time up there at the scene there, and I understand that you were pretty angry. And were you angry up there with those people? No, not at all. Okay. Did you know any of those people that were injured?
Not
I knew who they were. You didn't. I mean, not personally, right? Okay.
one of them, but
Which person did you know up there, Barry?
first one I shot.
Barry's first victim was the male student who died at the scene, 14-year-old Manuel Vela Jr. According to witnesses, Manuel had teased him in the past, calling him names. This prompted threats from Barry, who was overheard whispering, "Do you treasure your life?" One classmate once heard Barry say, "Someday people are going to regret teasing me." It's important to note that these claims come from witness accounts, but there is no verifiable evidence to support that Manuel ever teased Barry.
Did you know the teacher? That's your class, right?
I didn't know her personally, but yeah.
Okay. Is she your math teacher? I'm sorry. Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Yes. And do you know her name for me?
Not her first name.
Okay. Her last name by chance?
Kairos,
Okay.
Mrs. Kairos.
Did Mrs. Kairos do anything to you?
No.
However, witness statements suggest he may have harbored negative feelings for his teacher. Weeks before the shooting, Barry supposedly complained about her teaching methods, with one teacher saying the two had a personality conflict. One witness stated Mrs. Kairos gave him detention a week before the incident, after Barry put paper in the classroom heater. Another recalled Barry stating he wanted to kill Mrs. Kairos because she told him he had a wrong answer in class.
Okay. Now the other people that got hit, were those accidentals, or were you trying to hit them, or that was just kind of crazy then?
That was kind of crazy. It might have been deliberate. It might have
So the only two deliberate ones,
I believe it was deliberate.
the only two positively deliberate ones would be.
The only positive deliberate would be me.
A search warrant was executed on Barry's house in the days following the attack. In his room, they find the book earlier mentioned by the Seattle detective. The novel, titled Rage, was published in 1977 by Stephen King under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. In a twisted parallel to real-life events, the book tells the story of a student who fatally shoots his algebra teacher, taking his classmates hostage and threatening to kill them should they fail to comply with his demands. According to the Stephen King website, the book was later removed from print due to the sensitive nature of its content. Another notable book among Barry's collection is Gunslinger, the first volume in the Dark Tower series. The novel contains Western themes, with the main protagonist often depicted as wearing a trench coat and cowboy hat, wielding guns similar to those Barry used during his attack. Though Barry never admitted in his interview whether he drew inspiration from his favorite movies or books, his actions and the eerie parallels to the fictional killers are impossible to ignore.
I need to ask. What am I going to do after I'm out of here? Are they going to go back to the cell or what? Or they need to ask me some more questions?
Well, I think if you and I can clear this up, I mean, why is there somebody in particular you wanted to do, or somebody you want to talk to?
Well, I would kind of at least let my parents know what's going on,
Okay.
but
We can-
I don't know if I want them here.
Sure. And I give you my promise on the deal here. If you want your parents here right now, I will get your parents.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
but I don't.
All right.
At this point in the interview, Sergeant Ruffin was interrupted by another officer and briefly left the room. When he returned, he had news to share with Barry.
Barry, we have a little technicality here. Here's what this is that your mom apparently, and I haven't seen your mom, I don't even know if your mom's here, but apparently she called a lawyer, and the lawyer called down here, and the lawyer said that he wants me to stop talking to you. What are your feelings about that?
Well, I think it should be my business, but of course it's my mother.
Okay,
So.
all right. So what I'm going to do is, out of honor, I guess, for your mother and also the lawyer at this time, I'm going to stop the statement.
With that, the interview reached an end. An autopsy report would later determine that 49-year-old Leona Lee Kairos and 14-year-old Manuel Vela Jr. each died from single gunshot wounds. As for the two victims who went to the hospital following the attack, 14-year-old Arnold Arnie Fritz died shortly after his arrival. 13-year-old Natalie Hintz ultimately survived after undergoing extensive surgery and nearly losing her arm. Barry was arrested and booked into the Grant County Youth Center. A motion was filed for a psychological evaluation to determine whether or not mental illness played a factor in the attack. It would later be revealed that during the winter months when Barry became noticeably withdrawn, his parents were experiencing marital issues, with his mother filing for divorce just 1 month before the attack. While multiple doctors agreed that Barry was experiencing depression, there was disagreement as to the extent. Barry's lawyers later filed a motion to suppress the statements made to Sergeant Ruffin during his interrogation, arguing that the sergeant had violated his rights. However, the trial court denied the motion, ruling that Washington law does not require parental consent when a juvenile waives their rights. From August 15th to September 24th, 1997, Barry Loukaitis stood trial in court as an adult and was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree aggravated murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of assault in the first degree, 1 count of assault in the second degree, and 16 counts of kidnapping, each with a firearm enhancement. He was ordered to serve 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Even though the Supreme Court has ruled that kids who commit murder when they are under the age of 16 can't be sentenced to life without parole, Barry Loukaitis may still die of old age behind bars. KXLY4's Jeff Humphrey working for you tonight on why prosecutors from Spokane County are pushing for a 189-year sentence.
21 years ago, the man who is currently Grant County's elected prosecutor was a private attorney who represented Barry Loukaitis in the fight over whether or not Loukaitis would be treated as an adult. Garth Dano realized he could not fairly represent Grant County in tomorrow's resentencing hearing, and so he asked Spokane County's prosecutor to step in and handle the case. In 1996, Barry Loukaitis walked inside his math class here at Frontier Middle School, killed his teacher, 2 other students, and wounded a 3rd.
This is a crime that impacted a community, impacted juveniles at the time. It is not just Mr. Loukaitis that was a juvenile at the time of this crime.
Even though he was just shy of his 15th birthday, Loukaitis was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Moses Lake thought it had seen the last of Loukaitis until the U.S. Supreme Court ruled we can't send kids to prison without the possibility of parole.
He forever altered a community, and we feel that that certainly mitigates against any consideration of his age at the time in making a sentencing recommendation.
On Wednesday in Ephrata, Deputy Prosecutor Kelly Fitzgerald is asking the court to re-sentence Loukaitis to 189 years in prison. She'll argue Loukaitis should be punished for the murders as well as holding 16 people hostage at gunpoint.
Every charge has a deadly weapons enhancement. Each of those enhancements is 5 years of true time, and they run consecutive.
Those deadly weapons enhancements alone add up to more than a 100-year prison sentence for Loukaitis.
The state felt it was appropriate that each of the types of crimes that Mr. Loukaitis committed against his teachers and students at the time be represented in the recommendation and hopefully the court's adopted sentence.
And so the judge who presided over Loukaitis' trial 20 years ago is briefly coming out of retirement so he can handle tomorrow's resentencing in Ephrata. We'll be there in Grant County Superior Court to let you know what happens. Jeff Humphrey, KXLY4.
Later today, Moses Lake school shooter Barry Loukaitis is set to be resentenced in Grant County Superior Court. The state is recommending 189 years in prison. In a letter written last week, Loukaitis said he won't fight whatever sentence the victims' families find appropriate. Our Derek Dice is live in Moses Lake with what that letter meant to one of those families.
Yeah, Robin, Loukaitis' letter was more powerful than Arnie Fritz's family ever could have imagined. Fritz was one of 3 people killed here at Frontier Junior High in 1996 when a 14-year-old Loukaitis, who's now a 36-year-old man, opened fire, killing fellow students Fritz, Manuel Vela, and teacher Leona Kairas. That 2-page letter was the first time Loukaitis had publicly apologized for the shooting 21 years ago, saying he betrayed the values of life and reason and that he's sorry for the pain and outrage he's caused everyone in this community. He also dispelled rumors that Vela had physically bullied and threatened him. Last night, I spoke to Fritz's sisters, 2 of whom I've known for 25 years now. They told me that letter brought back a lot of emotions for them, and while it was heartbreaking, it was also exactly what they needed to hear.
Having him acknowledge what he did and how he's processed that and how he has come to terms with what he did to, I think, the best he can. It brought a lot of closure for me.
He was so detailed in every single person that he impacted, in the community that he impacted. And to hear him own that, I think it's really important for the community to heal. It's really important for individuals to heal. And ultimately, it's important for him to heal as well.
The sisters say they didn't even realize how deeply they needed to hear "I'm sorry," and that the letter answered a lot of questions they and likely the other victims' families had about Loukaitis. Now, Fritz's sisters will be a few of the 15 people expected to speak on behalf of the victims today in Grant County Superior Court, and they're all hoping this will be the final hearing ever in this case. Reporting live in Moses Lake, I'm Derek Dice, KXOI4 News.
Derek, you are from Moses Lake. Your family still lives there. That is your school. I mean, this, and you were telling us earlier, your brother actually was at the school on the day of the shooting. This must really not only hit close to home and then reopen those wounds, but, you know, I'm just wondering, like, what is your family feeling and what is the rest of the community feeling today?
Yeah, there's certainly a weight to it. As we said before, even if you didn't know Arnie Fritz, Manuel Vela, or Loukaitis, you probably knew someone connected to them. This is a small community, and this shooting really rocked it to its core. And before 2012, when the Supreme Court decided that juveniles can't be sentenced to life without parole, we thought this case was buried. And now it's come back to the surface, and like you said, reopen a lot of old wounds, not just for the victims' families, but for everyone here in Moses Lake.
Barry Loukaitis was just a kid when he committed these horrific acts. He was tried as an adult, though, and sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison with no chance of parole. Perfectly legal at the time. But 2 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled sending juveniles to prison for life without the possibility of parole is cruel and unusual punishment, and ordered defendants like Loukaitis to be sentenced all over again. The shooting was the first mass school shooting in Washington and rocked the small town of Moses Lake. To this day, people there remember 14-year-olds Arnie Fritz and Manuel Vela and beloved math teacher Loukaitis. A resentencing will certainly open old wounds for the community and for the victims' families. It also provides an interesting legal problem for Grant County's newly elected prosecutor. In 1997, Garth Dano was on the other side of the courtroom. He actually defended Loukaitis at trial. Because of that, he's recusing himself from the new sentencing, and Spokane County's new prosecutor will handle it instead. Larry Haskell will travel to Grant County to handle the sentencing. A Grant County judge will decide the case. How and when remains to be seen, but Haskell is clear the victims' families will play a huge part in what happens next.
Like you said, nothing more sensitive than this. They went through a trial. Now it's back. I mean, the trial concluded in September of 1997, and here we are in 2015, and now at least we're not talking about another trial. This is strictly a sentencing issue and getting Mr. Loukaitis back before the sentencing court and to issue a sentence that comports with the change in the law.
The court has yet to schedule a hearing, but things will likely get underway in the next 2 months. Loukaitis still faces between 25 years and life for each of the 2 murder charges. But if he does get life again, the possibility of parole has to be included.
At just 14 years old, Barry Loukaitis was back in court today, 2 decades later, to be resentenced for his crimes. The Moses Lake school shooting still haunts the community. We have team coverage tonight. KXOI4's Jeff Humphrey is working for you from Ephrata at Grant County Superior Court. He joins us live now. Jeff, a lot of new insight into this terrible tragedy.
Casey, as it turns out, that tragic shooting at Frontier Middle School was not about Barry Loukaitis being bullied. The classmates that he killed were actually targeted because they were simply sitting in the front row. Today, Loukaitis explained in court that back then he was experiencing some of the same frustrations that a lot of adolescents feel, and 21 years ago, he simply did not know how to deal with them.
None of you should have to go through that. And it was because I was stupid, and because I was pathetic, and because I was weak.
It was the apology and explanation from Barry Loukaitis that shooting victims and their families had waited for more than 21 years to hear.
All of you are good people, and hell is knowing that you have done something to good people, and that you can never make it right.
Loukaitis says he realized long ago the pain the shooting rampage had caused, but testimony today from victims and their families provided point-blank reinforcement.
I saw Mrs. Kyra's plea with Barry to stop shooting. Barry, without hesitation, shot. He showed no grace and no mercy.
Today, as Loukaitis looked on, the daughters of teacher Loukaitis also provided grim details of his attack.
She loved to teach. She died with a piece of chalk in one hand. and an eraser in the other.
Today, Loukaitis cried as John Lane, the heroic teacher who disarmed Loukaitis, wondered how this could have been prevented.
Why did you do it? You haven't told us why. Why Frontier? Why that day? Why that classroom?
Loukaitis wanted to stress he wasn't feeling bullied.
I didn't have the skill set that I needed to learn to be a man.
Loukaitis then agreed with prosecutors about what his sentence should be.
Justice for the people affected by this is to have me stay in prison. They made that very clear.
And that's exactly what happened. A 189-year sentence from the judge. The parents of shooting victim Manuel Vela Jr. say they're glad Loukaitis specified that their son was not bullying Loukaitis and did not trigger the attack.
That's the best thing that could have come out of all of this is him saying what we've known all along, that he was not a bully, that he was not the bad example that he was first set out to be, that my son was a good man.
Today, Barry Loukaitis told the court, Casey, that he never wanted friends or family of the victims to ever have to come back to this courthouse and look at him and worry about the sentence. And so this afternoon, he actually signed a piece of paper that waives his right to all future appeals. About this time today, Mr. Loukaitis likely already back down at Coyote Ridge Correction Center. That's where he'll spend the rest of his life. That prison only about 30 miles from where this terrible shooting happened.
I know you don't want or you need an apology, and so I won't. I am sorry. That's what I did, and I know it doesn't make anything better. It doesn't help. It doesn't replace what has been taken from me, and you should have it back. Everything. You should have your loved ones back. You should have all these experiences that you wanted to have back. You should have your lives back. Everything you said about how hard it's been for you, and not just you, everyone who was in the same situation. None of you should have gone through that. And it was because I was stupid, and because I was pathetic, and because I was weak, and because other people were strong, and I couldn't deal with that. But just one thing, it's hard when you say that this has been so hard for you, and you were strong. All of you were strong. You were able to get through that. And you were able to navigate life, everyday life. I was too weak to do that. You were able to face the future, and I just would hope that you could draw on whatever strength you found there to do what you need to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And what I did was weak and was evil and was senseless, and there's no, it's unfair to let that stand in the way of whatever it is that you and everyone else needs to accomplish. And I'm sorry for putting you through it. I'm sorry for everything, every bit of pain, agony. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't take anything back. Everything you've had to go through, no, it doesn't fix anything. Just that you deserve to hear it, and all of you deserve to hear it. And those people have wondered a lot about what hell is like, and hell is seeing. Hell is knowing you're all good people. All of them are good people. And hell is knowing that you have done something to good people, and that you can never make it right. And it's facing and knowing that you deserve your lives back. You deserve your loved ones back. And knowing that everything I've gotten has been too good for me. That there's nothing I can do to make it right. And that's how I feel. There were some questions about why I did this, and I never explained why I did it. I wasn't sure whether I was going to do that today, because I didn't want to make this about me. It's not. But those questions have been asked by Mr. Lane, by Mr. Bayla, and I'll be as brief as I can. The short answer is that I was afraid, I was angry, and I was jealous. That's not a full explanation, but I was in a situation where I was going through the same things that every other kid did, and I didn't see it. I didn't know that everyone else went through that. And when I started feeling rejected, instead of reaching out to anyone or saying something to anyone, I just concealed it. And instead of facing my own problems and admitting that there was something wrong with me, I turned that behavior outward toward others. And I just began to believe that there was something wrong with them and that nothing wrong with me. And because I didn't confide in others, it wasn't failing this community. It wasn't a failing of someone to reach out to me. It was a failing of mine. I just thought that you have to be weak to reach out to someone else. And I didn't see the strength in that. And so I just I just didn't say anything. No one knew. I concealed it from my parents. And I just started to feed on this hatred that I had. And it built up over a long time to a point that initially you just think that some people are bad people, and you start thinking that they're really bad people and they enable bad people, and then you start thinking that maybe they deserve to die. And when there's no one there to spot that, and there's no one there to intervene and say, you're really screwed up, you're not correct, you're not perceiving things properly, then it takes the consequences that it did. And I felt like I was hostile, I was rude to a lot of people in the year or so before I was in school. And I was that way because I was putting on a front that I wanted. I was very weak, and I knew it, and I wouldn't admit it myself. And I felt like I had to be like everyone else. I had to be strong, to be dangerous. And anytime anyone would call me on it, which they were right to do, I didn't do anything. And I felt ashamed of that. And at some point, I told myself I can't do that anymore. And that's when I made the decision I made. And it was because I was weak, because I was stupid, it was because I was jealous, and it's because I felt like I was a good person and other people weren't, and I should have been rewarded for that, and other people should not have. And I was wrong. I didn't see what things were really like. Because when I Bailiff family spoke today, I was too much of a coward in 1997 to look at you all. And now, when I see you, I see who you are, and you're good people. All of you are good people. And Oviedo was a good person. And your sense of honor is palpable. It's right there. And I didn't see that. I didn't see that in your son. And that's not his fault, that was mine. He was good, he was better than I am. He always will be. And you should have him back, you should. I'm sorry. The answer of why everyone else is, and there's no justification for anyone. the answer to why everyone else is that because I was weak and the prosecution was correct, it was calculated. I thought about this beforehand. I was afraid that people near me might try to attack me, and that's the reason for everyone else. There's no. I didn't tell people that for a long time because that was even more cold-blooded than what I did initially, but that's the truth. And you never should. It shouldn't happen to you. You shouldn't have to go. And I don't know if it'll help anything, but I know Mr. Lane got a question about this and me as well, but it was never my intention to be killing in the classroom. I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but I don't want to do that. Mr. Martinez, you asked if I'm deserving of forgiveness. I don't know the answer. I don't believe that I am. If people forgive me, it's because they're good. It's not anything I deserve. It's not anything I have come to me. But the answer again to why is just because I was angry, because I was Catholic. This community had a certain set of values and tried to instill me with them, and I can look at you all and see that you embody those values, you represent them, and I didn't. Mr. Lane, you asked what can be done to prevent things like this. I can't generalize about every other school shooting that's happened. Some of them I don't understand at all. Other ones I feel like I do. A lot of it was just, I didn't have the skill set that I needed to learn to be a man. And someone had spotted that and told me during a time when you're trying to become a man, to have some sense of confidence that would have helped, that would have stopped this, that would have helped me. Other things that might have stopped, again, it just depends on the cases. A lot of times, though, there's a narrative. You start to believe that general society has rejected you, and that because you shouldn't have been rejected, you turn your aim toward them, and you want to attack them. And whenever there's some injustice in society, you feel like that justifies you, and it doesn't. And to anyone else who's thinking of doing something like this, that's what I would tell them is don't. There's nothing that comes from this. You look at good people, and they don't deserve any of this. None of this. And society's not bad. And if it is, you fix it through reason. You don't fix it through violence. It doesn't. It's not the thing to do. And this courtroom, these people, none of this is right. None of this should have happened. And I know it's completely infinite, but I'm sorry. And you all deserve your lives the way they were. And I never do that. I never bring that back. But I'm sorry for what I did to Loukaitis. I'm sorry for what I did to Alabama. I'm sorry for what I did to your son, Arthur.